Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 2 of the Monday Q&As. Let me see if I can make it through these. It is so hard for me to sit and talk right now. I'm in the middle of my cheat day. My stomach's all bloated from the ice cream I just ate. It was so good though. Got some low-fat mint chocolate chip, but it's sitting heavy in my stomach. So let's see if I can make it through part 2. All right, first question. I've been watching your channel for over a year, and I find your information very useful. My problem is this, being 45 years old, 5'10", and weighing over 240. I've recently been diagnosed with high blood pressure. Every site I've been on has said that weightlifting has to go because it elevates your blood pressure. I would love to hear your opinion on this. Many thanks from sunny England. Now that was a good joke, because you guys know I lived in England for 3 years. There's nothing sunny about England other than about 2 weeks out of the year. But that aside, this is really nonsense information. Yes, when you're lifting, in the middle of the lifting, your blood pressure goes up, but they should be more worried about acute versus chronic effect here. That's an acute effect. The chronic effect of weightlifting regularly is that lifting weights over time will lower your blood pressure when you're not in the gym and you're not in the middle of a lift. You might only spend 5 minutes per day lifting for 5 minutes of an elevated blood pressure, only to have the other 23 plus hours per day with a lower blood pressure as a result of it. So this sort of bullshit needs to go. The medical research on the benefits of weightlifting are overwhelming in regards to their impact on cardiovascular health, glucose control, lowering cancer rates. The evidence is overwhelming, and there's no reason that they should be really discussing this. And they should know that in the long term, the chronic effect of weightlifting is lowered blood pressure. So tell your doctors to get their shit together. All right, next question. Hey Jason, I love squatting, and I do it 3 times per week on my full body program, and I have great progress. However, every time I get to the heavier loads, my left knee starts to pop. As soon as my hip goes below parallel, I don't feel any pain from it. Maybe sometimes after the set, a slight twitch in the knee, but no lasting pain or inflammation. Blah, blah, blah. He's stretching, dynamic work. He thinks his form is good. If your form is good, don't worry about it. If you're getting a pop there, it's just fluid in the knee joint. If you're not experiencing pain or inflammation from it, you're not causing damage. It's nothing more than fluid in your knee joint. Keep squatting and don't worry about it. Reassess your form though, and like you said, if your form seems to be on point, you're probably okay either way. No biggie. Next question. When should a raw powerlifter use knee wraps? A raw powerlifter should use knee wraps when he is prepping for a meet that allows knee wraps, in which case he isn't raw, he's raw with wraps. If you don't compete with wraps in competition, I can't think of a good reason for you to ever use knee wraps. They're not a good idea. They don't give you the same motor patterns that you get from using just completely raw without wraps, and they damage your knees over time. There's no reason for you to be using them at all as a raw powerlifter. Just throw them away. You don't need them. Sell the ones that you have to some sucker and get rid of them. All right, next question. Why are bodyweight leg curls the hardest exercise ever? These are also known as glute ham raises. They may not be the hardest exercise ever, but they are really hard and they're really tough. They are, however, almost an essential exercise for a lot of field athletes, in my opinion. Football players, rugby players, things like that. Why are they so hard? Because you're lifting your entire body with a relatively small muscle, your hamstrings, and it's a muscle that is a flexion muscle, not an extension muscle, and you're actually having to pull your entire body weight up with your hamstrings, and in some cases with added weight of using a plate on your chest. And that's what makes it so hard. You're actually having to use a pulling muscle to just pull your entire body up. But as far as them being an effective exercise, they are very effective. They're an amazing exercise, and there's not a single field athlete or contact sport athlete out there who I wouldn't recommend to do glute ham raises. All right, next question. Can you build muscle mass eating at maintenance provided you're getting stronger on the 5 to 10 rep range, not just improved rate coding? I think the answer there should be obvious. If you're getting stronger in the 5 to 10 rep range, you are gaining muscle. So yeah, if you're at maintenance calories and you're able to continue to gain strength in that rep range, you're good to go. You're probably gaining muscle and losing fat, recompositioning at the same time. That's not the issue. That's not why we say that recomposition is hard, or that gaining muscle at maintenance is hard. It's because you might not be able to consistently gain strength. You might be at maintenance and have been gaining strength in the 5 to 10 rep range, and then all of a sudden you go 3, 4, 5, 6 months without gaining any strength there. That's your issue. If you're gaining strength, you're golden. If it's not broke, don't fix it. The issue is that you might not be able to gain strength consistently for any length of time while doing so. and in which case you're not gaining muscle at that point. But if you're gaining strength, then yeah, you're gaining muscle there. All right, next question. Question about your linear hypertrophy program. Are some weeks supposed to be easier than others, namely weeks 1, 3, and 5? Yes, absolutely. It's intended that way. I have you peak up in cycles, so it's like a seesaw effect of intensity and recovery. And every 3 weeks, the program should get really hard, then it should feel easier the week after. So it's almost like a little mini overreach. You back off slightly in a new rep range, adapt, push forward, overreach a little more, back off, adapt, and then you finally push for one large amount of overreaching before you deload. That's how the program is designed. It should feel that way. All right, next question. Once you hit gluconeogenesis with your proteins, using those big words, it means you're turning protein or amino acids into carbohydrates or blood sugar. Does every gram of protein after that equal the same amount of glycogen that you would get from a gram of carbs? You guys really need to stop thinking of a lot of these things in these terms of just that there's a point where things change. What you need to remember is that there are different points to where percentages start changing over. It doesn't work as, oh, all of a sudden my glycogen stores are full, so I start storing more body fat. No, what happens with things like glycogen stores is that as the glycogen stores start to fill up, a larger percentage of those carbohydrates might start getting burned off as heat energy in the mitochondria of your muscle cells, and less of them get stored as glucose. We start running into this issue with protein. If your body needs glucose, it's going to make glucose out of protein at any time. It doesn't matter if you've even under-eaten protein that day. If your body needs more glucose, it will break down up to about 40% of the protein you eat and convert it into glucose. And that's pretty much any time your body needs more glucose because it's not getting enough dietary carbs to meet your energy needs. It will always do that with the protein you eat, even if you're eating a small amount. So it's not working the way that you think it does. It's a continual process. It's not something that just turns on and off. And even if you start eating excessive amounts of protein in place of your glucose, your body is still going to have finite limits on how much of the protein that it starts converting. You know, it will never be able to convert 100% of the protein that you eat from any given meal into glucose. No. And at some point, you're just going to start wasting amino acids that it can't convert into glucose the way that it wants it. It can't find a way to just kind of keep those amino acids circulating. Your body's not really going to have a store for those things. And the percentage isn't going to change that much at that point. It'll go up a little bit, but not a lot. So no, it doesn't. You're not looking at some sort of hard shut on and off. It's just, it doesn't work that way in your body. And no, you will never get a meal to where your body converts all of the protein you eat into carbohydrates. It's not going to be able to be that efficient ever. All right, next question and last question of the week. Jason, to what extent of the quality of performance would be affected if you took all the PEDs away? How would bodybuilding, professional wrestling, and the 4 major sports, NBA, MLB, NFL, and NHL suffer? Well, the problem is that this is wishful thinking. It's not realistic. You will never be able to remove the drugs in sports. You will never get the drugs out of the Olympics. You'll never get the drugs out of natural bodybuilding or drug-free powerlifting. Can't be done. So in this fantasy, unrealistic fantasy to where you did achieve this somehow, you would see 180-pound IFBB pro bodybuilders. As far as all your other performance-based sports go, you would never see another world record broken. Most of the world records would roll back 20, 25 years from where they are now. If you took them back and just re-jumped back and said, okay, the records from, I don't know, 1980 are what stand right now in all sports, those records would continue to stand. No one would probably ever break them again because they were all broken in the 1980s by people who were on performance-enhancing drugs. So that would be the end of sports. It would stop being as interesting as it is. Performance would go down across the board. Even natural bodybuilding, the guys would be smaller and less ripped. If there were no drugs at all in the sport, you wouldn't see what you see even there now. Even drug-free powerlifting, the records would roll back a bit and no one would break another one. Or they would very, very rarely break one. It's not something that would be happening on a yearly basis. So that's the changes you would see. And sports would dwindle out a bit. There'd be less money involved in sports because everyone would be slower, weaker. They would recover slower. They wouldn't have as much stamina to play out games. So performance across the board would go down. Overall size and strength would go down across the board in every sport. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.